Daryl Monroe's fingers ached from the cold as he leaned against the steel bus shelter outside the downtown Phoenix diner. His shift had ended 40 minutes ago, but the buses were late again. Rain had turned the air bitter, and his hoodie was no match for it. He clutched his worn-out backpack close. Inside were his resume copies, a pair of extra socks, and a notebook where he wrote lyrics and job leads. Today was supposed to be a good day. He'd passed his food handler's test and had an interview at that new chain cafe opening uptown. But of course, life had other plans. The interview got cancelled last minute because of staffing complications. The manager never showed up. Now he was shivering, wet, and pissed. That's when he saw her. Across the road, a woman in heels struggled with a designer suitcase, her red coat soaked through. She had no umbrella and looked utterly out of place, like a Vogue model dropped into the middle of a working-class postcard. Daryl watched her, unsure. She looked around nervously, glancing at her phone, then at passing cars. After a few minutes, she gave up dragging the suitcase and slumped onto a bench, clearly overwhelmed. She looked lost. Daryl sighed. He didn't need more problems. But something in him, the part his mom used to call your old soul, nudged him forward. He jogged across the street, stepping in a puddle so deep his shoe made a squishing sound. "You okay?" he asked. The woman looked up, startled. Up close, she was younger than he thought, maybe mid-20s, with delicate features and wet lashes clumping over wide, green eyes. "I missed my rideshare, my phone's dying, and apparently there's no Uber service out here during the storm," she laughed bitterly. "I'm from New York, I don't know what I'm doing here." Daryl nodded. "Phoenix isn't usually this dramatic." He pulled off his hoodie and extended it to her. Underneath, he wore just a thin t-shirt. "Here, not waterproof, but better than that coat you've got." She hesitated. "I can't take your jacket. Not gonna freeze to death over pride, are we?" he said lightly. She accepted it. "Thanks, I'm Ivy. Daryl, do you live around here? Work down the street?" "Live," he chuckled. "Wherever I can." Understanding flickered in her eyes. "You mean you're homeless?" "Not exactly, more like temporarily between roofs." Her eyes fell, but she didn't say anything that felt like pity. Instead, she zipped the hoodie halfway and looked up. "Thank you, Daryl." They sat in silence, listening to the rain beat down on the awning. After a while, Ivy cleared her throat. "Actually, I need to get to this place. Can't miss the check-in window or I'll lose my reservation. It's called Moonview Inn. That's like 6 blocks away. I can walk you." "You don't have to." "I do. That suitcase looks like it's fighting you." Together, they walked through the rain, him pulling her suitcase like it weighed nothing. At the entrance of the inn, she turned to him. "Would you let me buy you dinner, or a coffee, something?" He smiled. "Nah, just glad you're safe." Ivy stepped inside, then hesitated. "Wait, here." She took off the hoodie, handed it back, and quickly scribbled something on a card. "Call this number, tomorrow anytime after noon, please." Daryl took the card. It had a name, Ivy Renner, and below it, a number. He smiled, nodded, and watched her disappear into the warm, lit lobby. Later, back at the shelter near the soup kitchen, Daryl unfolded the card again. Ivy Renner. Why did that name sound familiar? He didn't sleep much that night, not because of the cold or noise, but because something strange stirred in his chest. He couldn't explain it. Maybe it was hope. The next afternoon, Daryl stood outside a payphone booth at a Chevron station, thumbing the worn business card in his palm. Ivy Renner. The name still buzzed in his mind like an old song he couldn't place. He'd Googled it at the library that morning, using up his only free hour on the public computer. Ivy Renner wasn't just anybody. She was the heiress to Renner Capital, one of the largest venture firms on the West Coast. Her face showed up in tabloids and finance articles, usually paired with headlines like "Billionaire's daughter breaks rules," not just records. And yet, she'd been standing in the rain like any other lost soul, asking for directions. Accepting a hoodie from someone like him. Daryl stared at the numbers on the keypad, then took a breath and dialed. It rang once, twice. "Hello," he cleared his throat. "Hey, this is Daryl. We met yesterday at the bus stop." A pause, then warmth. "You called, I wasn't sure you would." "I wasn't sure either," she laughed. It sounded real. "I'm glad you did." Listen, I'm at this brunch downtown with my dad's board, but I can leave in an hour. Can you meet me at Cafe Juniper? It's walking distance from where we met." Daryl hesitated. He had exactly $3 in his pocket. "I'll get us something," she added, almost like she read his mind. "Just say yes." Okay, yeah, I'll be there. He hung up. At exactly 204 p.m., Daryl stepped into Café Juniper, suddenly aware of every frayed thread in his hoodie. The place smelled like rosemary and espresso. Everything looked expensive: clean walls, abstract art, staff in matching aprons. And there she was, sitting near the window in a navy jumpsuit, sipping tea like she hadn't grown up with silver spoons but carved her own path with it. When she saw him, she smiled like she'd been waiting all day. "I wasn't sure you'd show," she said as he sat across from her. "Neither was I." The waiter came, and she ordered for both of them, a panini for her, soup and bread for him. He hated being a charity case but swallowed the pride. Ivy leaned in. "So I've been thinking about you." Daryl raised a brow. "Can't imagine why." "No jacket, polite, dragged my suitcase 6 blocks, didn't ask for anything. Either you're secretly a monk or life's just been unfair." Daryl gave a half smile. "Depends who's keeping score." She sipped her tea. "Can I ask what happened?" He exhaled. "Mom died. Cancer. I was 20. Left college to take care of her. Lost our apartment a year later. Been floating ever since. Dishwashing, warehouse night shifts, whatever pays cash under the table." "You know how it goes." Her face softened. "I'm sorry," he shrugged. "I don't tell people that for sympathy, just facts." A pause. She tapped the table once with her nail, then looked him in the eye. "I want to hire you." Daryl blinked. "Come again." "I'm launching something, a community investment fund. Not just for show, something real. I want to put money in small businesses, help people like you who have been overlooked. I'm assembling a ground-level team of people who actually know the struggle. You're exactly the kind of voice I need in the room." He stared at her. "You don't even know me." "I know enough. I know character when I see it, and I trust my gut." "And what, I just put on a suit and walk into some shiny glass building and talk equity?" "Why not?" she said softly. "You have more dignity than half the VCs I've met." He stared at his soup. "I barely afford toothpaste." "I'm not offering you a miracle, Daryl. Just a shot, an apartment, paid training, and a 3-month contract. After that, you walk if it's not for you." His mind reeled. "Why me?" he whispered. "Because you helped someone without knowing who she was." Her voice lowered. "And I need people around me who remind me what that kind of integrity looks like." He didn't say yes, not yet, but he met her again 2 days later, then again a week after that. By the end of the month, Daryl had a new phone, a key to a 1-bedroom in Mesa, and a spot at the round table Ivy was building. But not everyone was pleased, especially not her father. The first time Daryl met Ivy Renner, it wasn't in a suit. It was at Ivy's townhouse, unannounced. Louis burst in like he owned every oxygen molecule in the room, and maybe he did. "You're the one," Louis said, eyes narrowed like gun barrels. Daryl stood up. "I guess that depends what you mean." "I mean the stray she's picked up this time." Ivy stood between them. "Dad, don't," but Daryl smiled, not flinching. "If by stray you mean someone with more life skills than your entire boardroom, sure." Louis laughed once, dry and sharp. "We'll see how long that attitude lasts when you realize who you're dealing with." He walked out, but not before dropping a warning. "She'll learn, and so will you." Daryl didn't say a word as the door clicked shut, but inside something shifted. This wasn't just about soup kitchens anymore, it was war. Daryl had never owned a tailored suit before. Now he had 3. By week 6, he could walk into a room full of money, scented air, and not flinch. The startup office Ivy rented in Temp was all glass, reclaimed wood and ambition. Desks with MacBooks, whiteboards with scribbled millions, and a digital countdown clock to their first official launch. The idea was bold, a fund where struggling people, not investors, helped decide who got seed money. A board of 5 civilians chosen from communities most in need. Daryl was Ivy's first, her symbol in some ways. At first he listened more than he spoke, but slowly his voice found weight. He suggested adding a mentorship clause to the funding agreements, pushed back against a VC's attempt to sneak in a hidden fee clause. People listened, even the skeptical ones. Except one, Malik Trent, Ivy's childhood friend turned CFO. Princeton sharp, Rolex tight, and always dressed like he was en route to a GQ shoot. Malik never said anything outright, but his eyes made it clear he didn't trust Daryl. "You should have been there before you," said Bree, the office admin, one night while making coffee. "Malik used to run this whole floor like a king." "What changed?" Daryl asked. "You. It came to a head in week 7. The pitch room was packed, investors Ivy, Malik, and Daryl. A single mom from Yuma, Rosa Alvarez, was pitching a daycare co-op idea. Her numbers were solid, her voice shook, but her conviction was steel. When she finished, Daryl leaned in. "I'd fund her," Ivy nodded. "Same," Malik folded his arms. "We have no proof of concept. She's never run a business. We're not a charity." Daryl spoke without raising his voice. "You gave some rich kid's crypto art idea 50 grand last week." He barely had a business plan. Malik's jaw twitched. "That's different." "How?" She had 3 typos in her application. The room froze. Daryl stared at him. "So we're grading spelling now," Malik stood. "This is exactly why you shouldn't be here. You think poverty makes people wise. It doesn't, it just makes them desperate." The room erupted. Ivy stood between them. "Enough, both of you," but the damage was done. That night, Daryl walked the streets alone. It had been a good day. They'd funded 3 projects, yet the taste in his mouth was bitter. He called his older brother, Clay, in Reno. "I don't know, man. Maybe I'm in over my head," Clay chuckled. "That's the point. If you're not in over your head, you're not growing. Feels like they want me to fail, at least one of them does." "Then make sure you don't." Silence. "Daryl," Clay added, "just don't forget who you are. If you start thinking you have to act like them to succeed, you've already lost." The next day, things got worse. Ivy called an emergency meeting. Her father had frozen half of her trust fund, the fund's main pool, no warning, just a notice sent through his legal team. "He's trying to suffocate us," Ivy said quietly, arms crossed. "If I don't shut this down, he says he'll cut off everything." Malik looked smug. Daryl stared at her. "What are you going to do?" "I don't know." Later that day, Malik pulled Daryl aside. "You should leave." Daryl didn't respond. "Ivy won't tell you this, but she's close to losing everything, and if this thing crashes, you'll go down with it." "Then maybe I go down," Daryl said. Malik smirked. "That's noble and stupid." 2 nights later, Daryl went to see Rosa in Yuma. He knocked on her tiny apartment door. She opened it, stunned. "You came all the way out here." "I wanted to see how things were going, in person." She led him inside. The office was her kitchen. Her 3 kids sat on the floor coloring while she showed him her spreadsheets and posters for the co-op. "I just want to make it easier for moms like me," she said. "That's it," Daryl nodded slowly. "You will." On the way back to Phoenix, Daryl sat on a Greyhound bus, watching darkness race past the windows. He remembered his mother's voice, calm, tired, but always wise. "Good people don't quit just because it gets hard. That's when it matters most." He took out his phone and opened the spreadsheet Ivy had shared. They had 4 days to meet payroll. If they failed, everything ended, but Daryl wasn't going to let that happen. Not now, not ever. By morning, Daryl had a plan. He wasn't sure it would work, but it was something. He started with Ivy. "You said your dad controls the trust," he asked. "But what about the board seat?" Ivy looked up from her laptop, hair tied in a frazzled bun, eyes rimmed red from no sleep. "What board seat? You told me once he put you on the board of his private equity firm to look good on paper. You still have it." She blinked. "Yeah, but it's ceremonial. I don't even get to vote." "But you still sit in the meetings, I guess. Then you still have access." He leaned forward. "Let's go see what they're funding, what they're buying, what they're scared of losing. Leverage, Ivy. Use what you already have." It took 3 cups of coffee and 2 ignored calls from Malik, but by noon, Ivy was hacking into the board packet for her father's next meeting. When she found it, her jaw dropped. "Luxury rehab centers," she muttered. "What?" "My dad's firm is quietly funding half a dozen private clinics in the Midwest through shell companies. No PR, no press, but huge margins." She spun the screen toward him. "He's betting on America's opioid crisis. Quietly buying up bankrupt hospitals and turning them into elite recovery centers for rich kids." Daryl stared. "That's disgusting." "It's business," she said bitterly, but Daryl was already thinking, "Let's fund the opposite, a free clinic, non-profit, community-run." Ivy blinked. "That's suicide." "No," Daryl said, "it's strategy. You said your dad hates embarrassment more than losing money, so let's embarrass him, make headlines. If he thinks this fund is going to publicly humiliate his other investments, maybe he backs off." Ivy stared at him. "You want to go nuclear. I want to survive." Malik exploded when he heard. "You're weaponizing philanthropy now." "It's smart," Ivy said flatly. "We build goodwill, media attention. If my father wants to look like a monster, fine, but we'll let the press be the judge." Malik slammed his laptop shut. "You know what? I'm done." He turned to Daryl. "Congratulations, you've ruined what could have been $1 billion fund." Daryl just stared back. "Then you're in the wrong business." Malik walked out. Ivy sat down hard. "We just lost our CFO." "You gained a spine," Daryl said. "Let's use it." The next 3 days were chaos. They found a shuttered pediatric clinic in South Phoenix that had been sitting vacant for 5 years. Daryl used every contact he had, old coaches, neighbors, even his high school janitor, to rally volunteers. Ivy brought in lawyers and PR contacts. The media caught on faster than they expected. By the third day, a local news crew was filming Ivy painting a mural on the wall while Daryl handed out bottled water to volunteers. A clip of Rosa, now officially the co-op's founder, talking about giving mothers a real chance went viral. They raised $40,000 in community donations overnight. That night, Ivy's father called. He didn't yell, he didn't threaten, he simply said, "You win," then hung up. 2 hours later, the trust funds were unfrozen. Payroll cleared. Daryl stared at the confirmation email for a full minute before smiling. They'd made it. The celebration was small. Take-out tacos on the rooftop. Just Ivy, Daryl, Rosa, and Bree. The city sparkled below. A rare breeze cooled the night. "You know," Bree said, sipping soda, "Malik was kind of a jerk, but he did keep track of our books." Ivy groaned. "Don't ruin it." Rosa nudged Daryl. "So what's next?" He didn't answer right away. "I want to take this model national," he said finally. "Let every community decide who gets funded, not just the rich. Not just the connected." Ivy looked at him for a long moment. "Then that's what we'll do," he nodded. But inside, something twisted, because he knew this wasn't over. Malik was gone, but men like Malik didn't just disappear. They regrouped, and they waited. The first email arrived 2 days later. Anonymous. No name, just an attachment. Daryl clicked it open. It was a scanned lease agreement. For a luxury apartment in Phoenix signed by Daryl Smith. He blinked. He'd never even been there. He scrolled down. Attached to the lease was a wire receipt, $45,000 from a shell company. He checked the date, 2 weeks ago. That's when Malik was still there. His phone buzzed. Another email. More receipts, payments, a consulting fee he'd never seen before. It all looked like fraud. Like Daryl was embezzling money from Ivy's fund, he froze, his chest tightened. This was a setup. Someone was framing him, and they had already started. Daryl stared at the screen, the cursor blinking like a slow, taunting heartbeat. The forged lease, the wire transfer, the consulting fees. None of it was real, but it all looked real enough to ruin him. He stood up too fast, nearly knocking his chair over. Ivy had to see this. Now. She was in the conference room, on a call with one of their new grant partners, flipping through architectural sketches for the clinic renovation. She smiled when he entered, until she saw his face. "What's wrong?" He handed her the laptop without a word. She scanned the emails, then the attachments, her expression flattening into something unreadable. "This isn't real," he said. "I never rented that place, never received those payments." Ivy looked up. "You think I'd believe you'd skim from your own project, from my money?" "Ivy, listen. I know you wouldn't," she said quietly, cutting him off. "But that's not the point, is it?" He frowned. "Then what is?" She pushed the laptop back toward him. "The point is, someone out there wants to destroy you." They shut down all outward communications for the next 24 hours. No emails, no PR, no calls. Ivy had her tech guy, a wiry, paranoid coder named Lonnie, comb through the fund's internal systems. By nightfall, he had found the breach. "A backdoor script inside the accounting software," he said, tapping furiously. "Remote access. Whoever planted it had admin privileges and used your login credentials." Daryl exhaled. "So Malik," Lonnie shrugged. "Could be, but if it's him, he'd help. This wasn't sloppy. It's clean, professional." "We're talking corporate sabotage." "Can you remove it?" Ivy asked. "Already did, but the damage is done. These files are floating around in the ether now. If someone wants to take you down, they've got ammo." "Legal trouble?" Daryl asked. "Only if they push it, but even if no charges stick, you know how this works." "Just one headline. Phoenix Fund founder under investigation, and your name's mud. You're done." Daryl ran a hand over his face. "So what do we do?" Lonnie gave a grim smile. We bait the trap. They spent the next 3 days in lockdown mode. Ivy drafted a press release about Daryl stepping back temporarily for medical leave while she assumed control of the Phoenix Community Fund. No one outside their inner circle knew the truth, not even Rosa. Meanwhile, Daryl worked with Lonnie to lay bait, a fabricated email chain between Daryl and a fake bank in the Cayman Islands, suggesting he planned to stash stolen funds offshore. They released it through a burner account to an anonymous whistleblower blog known for leaking shady non-profit activity. Then they waited. It took less than 8 hours for it to hit Twitter. A viral thread accused Daryl of fraud, linking screenshots of the forged lease, bank wires, and now the fake offshore correspondence. By the end of the day, 3 local news outlets had picked it up. The Phoenix Post ran the headline, "Hero or Hustler? New questions swirl around Community Fund co-founder." Ivy watched Daryl pace the office in silence. "This better work," she muttered. "It will," he said, but his voice cracked. Late that night, Daryl sat alone in his apartment, scrolling the comments under the news articles. Most were vile, some were heartbreaking, but one caught his attention. From an account with no profile pic and a single tweet history. Funny how the guy who took Malik's job gets accused of stealing a week after he quits. Check Sunridge Capital's Cayman affiliate. Follow the Shell's Sunridge Capital. Daryl's heart stopped. That was Ivy's father's firm. He called her. "I think it's bigger than Malik," he said. She sounded groggy, like she hadn't slept. "What?" "That account just hinted your dad's firm might be linked to the setup." "That he's behind this." Silence. Then Ivy sighed. "I hoped it wouldn't come to this." "To what?" She didn't answer right away. "Then, there's something you need to see. Come over." Her apartment was pristine. Too pristine. Like she hadn't really lived there in weeks. She poured them both a drink and slid a manila folder across the counter. Inside were scanned copies of old emails, dated nearly 6 months back. All between Malik and a man named Russell Dorset. Daryl blinked. "Who's Dorset?" "My father's fixer, PR hitman. He buries scandals and blackmails enemies, including board members who step out of line." One of the emails mentioned Daryl by name. Another referenced Ivy, and a third showed a full strategy: undermine the fund's credibility, isolate Daryl, force Ivy to sell her stake and quietly dissolve the foundation. "They planned it from the beginning," Daryl whispered. "He never wanted me to run this place," Ivy said bitterly. "The moment I brought you in, it gave him an excuse to pull the trigger." Daryl clenched his jaw. "We have to go public." Ivy gave him a tired look. "With what? A handful of emails, a burner tweet? My father has lawyers who eat journalists for breakfast." Daryl stood. "Then we don't go to the press." "Then where?" He turned to her, jaw set. "We take it to Rosa." Rosa's clinic had always been a place of warmth and certainty. Even when the electricity flickered or the roof leaked, the place radiated hope. But today, as Daryl and Ivy waited in her cramped office, the air was heavy with tension. Rosa entered, wearing her usual navy scrubs and tired eyes. "You look like hell," she told Daryl, sitting across from him. "And you," she looked at Ivy, "look like someone who hasn't slept in days." "We need your help," Daryl said immediately. Rosa crossed her arms. "Let me guess, this about those news stories." Daryl nodded. "It's all fake, every bit of it." Ivy handed her the folder with the printed emails. Rosa read them slowly, her brow tightening. "I believe you," she finally said, setting the papers down, "but this won't stop the bleeding." "That's why we need you," Daryl said. "You're the only one who's trusted in this community. If you vouch for us." "No," Rosa said. "I'm not just going to vouch for you, I'm going to do one better." They looked at her. "I know someone at City Watch," she continued. "Real investigative reporters, not Twitter sleuths. If you give them this, plus the bait you planted, they'll dig deeper. They can trace the shell companies, expose the offshore trails. We can make this explode in the right direction." "But what if they come after you too?" Ivy asked. Rosa smiled, a little tired, a little proud. "Honey, I've been dodging rich men's nonsense for 30 years. Let them try." City Watch moved fast. Within 48 hours, their lead reporter, Lydia Tran, was sitting across from Ivy and Daryl in a quiet coffee shop in Koreatown. "We've already confirmed your father's firm owns the affiliate in the Caymans," she said, scanning her notes. "And Russell Dorset made a wire transfer to Malik James just 2 weeks ago." "A consulting fee." "God," Ivy whispered, "they didn't even bother hiding it." We'll run the full story, but we need one last thing, Lydia said, on record quotes from both of you. Daryl glanced at Ivy. I don't care anymore, she said. He wants to destroy us, let him try. Daryl nodded. Print everything. The article dropped on a Monday morning. The headline was Fire, Exclusive, How a Billionaire Used His Daughter's Charity to Destroy His Enemies. It was explosive. The article included the forged documents, the email chains, Malik's connection to Ivy's father, and Russell Dorsett's direct involvement. It laid bare the power games played behind philanthropic curtains. Within hours, it was trending on every major platform. Cable news picked it up. Ivy's father, Harold Shaw, released a terse statement denying any personal knowledge of the plot, but it was too late. 2 board members at Sunridge Capital resigned by that evening. The firm's stock dipped 6%, and more importantly, public support swung hard back toward Daryl and Ivy. Donations to the Phoenix Community Fund surged. Rosa's clinic received over 400 new patients in 2 weeks, but not everything was easily fixed. Malik resurfaced 3 days later, this time in an exclusive interview of his own, framing himself as a pawn in a larger power struggle. He apologized vaguely but made it clear he felt no real remorse. Daryl watched the clip, jaw tight. He's trying to spin this. He's scared, Ivy replied. Let him talk. The more he does, the worse it gets. But the worst came the next morning. When Daryl returned to his apartment, he found the door kicked in. Nothing stolen. Just papers scattered, drawers overturned, and a message sprayed across the wall in red paint. You think this is over? The police took a report, but no fingerprints turned up. No cameras caught anything. Daryl stared at the wall for a long time after they left, thinking about how fast things could turn. He called Ivy. I don't care if it's over or not, he said. I'm not stepping down. There was a pause. Good, she said, because neither am I. A week later, they were both invited to speak at a gala organized by the City Development Board. It was supposed to honor rising leaders in community outreach. Ivy was skeptical, but Daryl insisted. We show our faces, we take up space, we let people know we're still here. So they went. Daryl in a rented tux, Ivy in a black off-shoulder gown that made her look every bit the heiress she never wanted to be. The room was full of city officials, donors, and media. Whispers followed them as they walked in, some curious, some reverent, some still suspicious. They found Rosa near the bar, wearing a silver shawl and her usual weary smile. You both clean up nice, she said. And you look like you just buried a mare, Ivy quipped. I did. In paperwork, Rosa said, clinking her glass to theirs. Daryl was halfway through his second drink when a man approached their table, bald-suited and smiling in that oily way Ivy instantly recognized. Mr. Rivers, Miss Shaw, my name is Derek Renshaw. I represent several interested parties looking to invest in public health initiatives. We were impressed with your resilience. Would you be open to discussing a potential expansion of the Phoenix model? Daryl raised an eyebrow. You're offering us money. Potentially. But more than that, political capital. The city's watching. You've got attention. Now's the time to grow. Ivy leaned forward. And what would you want in return? Renshaw smiled. Just a seat at the table. She looked him up and down, then smiled sweetly. Sorry, we just built a new table. No old seats allowed. He blinked, caught off guard, and backed away with a nod. Rosa laughed softly. That was satisfying. Daryl looked at Ivy. You meant it, she nodded. From now on, we do this our way. No fathers, no fixers, no snakes in suits. He raised his glass to new tables. They clinked glasses. And somewhere in the shadows of the gala, someone watched them with narrowed eyes. Not Malik, not Harold Shaw, someone else. Because when you break the system doesn't forget. But for now, just for tonight, they had won. The gala had left Daryl and Ivy feeling buoyant, victorious even, but the high didn't last. Within days, threats returned in subtler forms, zoning inspections at Rosa's clinic, delays in city permits for Phoenix projects, a mysteriously revoked grant, and 2 anonymous letters filled with veiled threats. They were being hit where it hurt the most, quietly, legally, and without fingerprints. We made them bleed, Daryl said one night, pacing Ivy's apartment, and now they're bleeding us back, drop by drop. Ivy watched him from the couch. They're using bureaucracy as a weapon, classic rich people warfare. We should have known this wouldn't end with one article. Ivy stood, walked over, and gently touched his arm. Then we adapt, again. Daryl sat, rubbing his temples. I'm tired, Ivy. I don't know how much more we can keep spinning plates. We're already understaffed, the media attention's fading, and Malik's got a new PR agency scrubbing his name all over again. Ivy didn't respond immediately. Instead, she disappeared into her bedroom and returned with an old leather notebook. What's that? My mother's, she said. Found it in a box when I moved out of my father's house. Haven't really looked through it until tonight. Daryl opened the first page. A worn, sun-bleached photo of a younger Ivy with her mother at a park. Below it, a note, whatever you give to the world, give it quietly and without asking for applause. The people who matter will see it. She always wanted to open a free clinic, Ivy said. Said the only thing scarier than pain was pain with no one to witness it. Daryl closed the notebook slowly, as if sealing something fragile inside. She never got to do it, did she? No, Ivy whispered. My dad shut it down. Said it was too risky for her reputation. Daryl leaned back, the idea forming slowly in his head. Then maybe we stop trying to fight their game. Maybe we build a new one, off the grid. No permits, no boards, no waiting for handouts. We open your mom's clinic, but we do it where they'd never look. Ivy's eyes lit up. Where? He grinned. South Camden, the old bus depot near 5th, abandoned, out of zoning jurisdiction, and completely ignored by every politician in the city. That place is falling apart. Exactly, no one will touch it, which makes it perfect. It took only a few days to find the right people. Contractors with nothing to lose, med techs tired of hospital corruption, even 2 local college students who agreed to code a full digital intake system for free. They called it the Hollow, a nod to how the system ignored certain parts of the city, leaving behind hollows of unmet need. They worked at night in secret, using portable generators, repurposed equipment, and donations sent through anonymous crypto wallets. Rosa used her network to get medical supplies under the radar. Word of mouth spread fast. By the end of the second week, they'd already seen their first 50 patients, homeless veterans, undocumented women, teenagers too afraid to go to ERS with injuries they wouldn't explain. No reporters, no ribbon cuttings, no donors asking for photo ops, just quiet service. One night, after a 12-hour shift, Daryl sat with Ivy on the roof of the depot. They watched the city skyline blink in the distance. We're ghosts to them, he said. And that's our power now. Ivy leaned into him. It's funny. All those years I thought I had to be seen to matter, that if I just proved myself to my father, he'd finally love me in the right way. You think he ever will? She shook her head. No, and for the first time, I'm okay with that. They sat in silence for a while, the kind of silence that feels like healing. The silence didn't last. A week later, the police raided the Hollow. 12 officers, 3 black subs, no warrant, no press. They didn't arrest anyone, but they confiscated everything, files, laptops, meds, even the patient logbook. They knew exactly what to look for, Rosa said bitterly as they watched the last squad car drive off. This wasn't a mistake, this was precision. Daryl's fists clenched. Someone tipped them off. Ivy didn't speak. Her hands were shaking. Later that night, she confronted her father at his estate. She didn't ask for an appointment, just walked past the security gate like she still belonged. When she found him reading on the back patio, she didn't give him time to fake surprise. You crossed a line, she said. Harold Shaw sipped his brandy. I cross lines for a living. You sent cops to shut down a free clinic. Do you even hear yourself? I sent a city compliance officer. What the police did after that isn't on me. You've lost control, she snapped. You're so obsessed with punishing me, you don't even see how much this makes people hate you. Her father stood, calm and chillingly composed. I built this family's legacy, Ivy. What you're doing, feeding it to bottom feeders, criminals, unwashed failures, this is betrayal, not rebellion, betrayal. I'm not your legacy, she said quietly. I'm your reckoning, he laughed. You think this little rebellion of yours matters. You're a rich girl playing dress up in the mud, and when the mud dries, you'll still be mine. No, Ivy said, I won't. And with that, she handed him a folder. Inside were documents she'd been gathering quietly, transcripts, shell company ledgers, secret settlements. Found your off-book trust in Nevis. Found the slush fund for your offshore lobbying. Found the real reason why Mum gave up her clinic. His face didn't flinch, but she saw his throat tighten, just slightly. I haven't leaked it yet, she said, but I will. One more move against Daryl, Rosa, or the Hollow, and I'll burn it all. You wouldn't dare, he growled. She smiled sadly. You gave me the fire, you just didn't expect me to use it against you. She turned and walked away. For once, he didn't follow. The news broke on a Sunday morning without warning. A whistleblower had leaked a massive cache of documents to City Watch, over 3,000 pages of internal communications, banking records, tax filings, and encrypted messages that implicated Harold Shaw in years of offshore tax evasion, unlawful political lobbying, and obstruction of charitable audits. Ivy hadn't pulled the trigger herself. Someone else had beat her to it. By noon, cable networks ran with the headline, "Billionaire philanthropist Harold Shaw implicated in federal tax fraud scandal." Daryl read the story twice before saying anything. You didn't send it? No, Ivy said, stunned. I was going to, but I held off after confronting him. I thought maybe I'd give him one last out. Daryl leaned back in his chair. Then someone else did. Her stomach sank. Do you think it was one of his own people? Someone close, Daryl said. Someone scared or angry or both. They sat in silence, the weight of it settling over them. Ivy felt the strange mix of vindication and grief. He was her father. And now he was about to be dismantled piece by piece in front of the whole world. That evening, the FBI raided Shaw's corporate offices. By Monday morning, he had resigned from Sunridge Capital and disappeared from public view. Rumors swirled about deals being cut behind closed doors. Some said he'd flee. Others said he was already cooperating. But Ivy didn't care anymore. He wasn't her story now. Not anymore. The Hollow reopened 3 days later. Everything had been cleared thanks to Lydia Tran and her relentless reporting. After exposing the illegal raid, City Watch pushed the police department into a public apology, forcing the return of all confiscated equipment. It was the kind of rare, clean win that made Daryl nervous, but Rosa didn't care. She walked back into the Hollow with a broom in one hand and a clipboard in the other. If they want to burn it down, she said, we'll build 10 more. By the end of the week, they had over 70 volunteers. Contractors, nurses, social workers, even a few lawyers offering free services for undocumented patients. Donations surged again, quiet ones, from real people. And then something happened Daryl didn't expect. A man in a suit approached him one afternoon while he was taking inventory in the storage room. Mr. Rivers, the man said, I'm Martin DeVille, City Council. Daryl's instinct was immediate suspicion. You're in the wrong place, councilman. I don't think I am, DeVille said. You're making noise, the kind we can't ignore anymore. I'm up for re-election next year, and I want to talk about bringing this model to 3 other districts. Daryl blinked. You mean actually fund us? Yes, legally, publicly, I'll take the political heat. You handle the people. Daryl didn't answer right away. Why now? He finally asked. Because your story made people care, DeVille said, and politicians go where the people care. I won't pretend to be a saint, but I'd rather bet on you than on another golf course tax loophole. That night, Daryl told Ivy about the offer. What do you think? She asked. I think I've spent most of my life assuming people like him only came to steal. They usually do, but maybe, just maybe. Some of them can be taught to serve instead. On the day the Hollow celebrated its 100th day open, Daryl stood before a crowd of over 200 people, patients, volunteers, neighbors, press. He cleared his throat and stepped up to the mic. I've been a lot of things in my life, he began, angry, poor, invisible. I've seen what systems do to people who don't fit neatly into paperwork or profit margins. He paused. But I've also seen what happens when people fight back, not with fists, but with care, with purpose, with each other. Applause rippled through the room. Daryl continued, glancing at Ivy in the front row. We were never supposed to last. We were supposed to be forgotten, overlooked, erased, but here we are. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's this: justice isn't loud. It's not glamorous. It doesn't wear suits. Justice is quiet. It's patient. It shows up every day in rooms like this with people like you. The crowd rose to its feet, and for a moment everything was still. Later that night, Ivy sat beside him on the same rooftop where they had once dreamed of building something real. I got a call from a friend at The Guardian, she said. They want me to write a first-person op-ed, tell the whole story. You should, Daryl said. All of it. She leaned her head on his shoulder. It still hurts about him, my father. It probably always will. But I'm not scared of being his daughter anymore, she said, because I know now I'm more my mother's child than his. She wanted to help people, and so do I. You're doing it, Daryl said. Every day, she looked at him, and you, he smiled. I used to want revenge, now I just want time to build, time to serve, time to love. There was a long silence, then Ivy reached for his hand. No more pretending, no more pretending. The stars blinked overhead. The city below pulsed with life, messy, chaotic, unforgiving. But somewhere in the middle of that chaos, a light had taken root. A clinic, a movement, a truth. And two people who had once been enemies now stood side by side, not perfect, not healed, but unafraid, because they had learned what it meant to start over, not for power, not for pride, but for people.